Hi, I'm Dr Ursula Hackett, author of Brilliant Essays, my practical guide for university essay writing success. In this video, I'll offer some tips for crafting brilliant conclusions. The average conclusion to a student essay is a heavy-handed affair. If it's repetitious and boring, it'll leave a lingering sense of mediocrity. You don't want that, just as your reader is about to grade your essay. So how can you leave your tutor in the best frame of mind when she finishes your essay and reaches for the marking rubric? First, let's be clear about what to avoid. A weaker essay typically contains a very formulaic concluding paragraph, prefaced by the ponderous words, "in conclusion," and containing a wasteful restatement of the question. Such a conclusion merely gestures towards the themes that have been discussed, rather than specific propositions advanced. For example, in conclusion, the question I tried to address was whether we can or cannot justify the view that humans have a moral status that non-human animals do not. Firstly, I looked at Singer's concept of speciesism. Secondly, I considered Kant's ideas about rational persons. And finally, I discussed Osvath's vision of autonomotic consciousness. Your reader has just read your essay, so they know what the question is already. You're in real trouble if the reader hasn't worked out the question by the time they've reached the end. It's your answer that needs to be centre stage, not the question. There's no need to put "in conclusion" for a short student essay. The reader can see that this is the final paragraph because there's no more material afterwards. I mean, it's not a major problem if you do stick the words "in conclusion" onto your last paragraph, but when you have limited space, it's a good idea to take advantage of any way that you can save wasteful words. And the vagueness of this conclusion is the biggest problem. By simply gesturing towards vague themes, the author adds absolutely nothing to what they've already written in the essay. Presumably, it's become clear during the essay that the author considered Singer, Kant, and Osvath, so there's no need to repeat it in the conclusion. It's a limp ending. Even restating the arguments can leave the reader feeling unsatisfied. In this essay, I argued that humans do have a moral status that non-human animals do not. Contra Singer, I suggested that speciesism is okay because it's natural to treat one's own species favourably. Yes, this conclusion is better than the one that simply repeats the question and gestures towards various themes, but it should always be clear to the reader what the main argument was. Personally, I think recapping the argument is wasteful of precious space. Some tutors require you to restate your argument in the conclusion, so it's a good idea to check if your tutor demands this approach. If they don't, you'll have more freedom to craft something truly brilliant. Another thing about conclusions, you shouldn't introduce lots of new information at this final stage. Anything that's crucial to your core argument, empirical evidence, ideas and reasoning, needs to come in the main body of the essay. You don't want a very lengthy conclusion because the meat and potatoes should come in the main body of the essay. Keep it short. So what sorts of things should a brilliant conclusion contain? A brilliant conclusion offers the reader a little more than what has gone before and a hint of what is to come. Instead of merely repeating your question or summarising your argument, extend your reader's understanding by offering them a sense of the broader implications of your argument for the scholarly literature, for fresh empirical cases, and for the field as a whole. For instance, you might reflect upon the behavioural implications for humans of adopting speciesist views as opposed to the Singer approach. You might show how your findings could be used to understand a recent animal cruelty case, or what the latest ethological experiments suggest for your schema, or sketch out a few ways that your arguments might apply to other current debates. You might outline the next frontiers for research in this particular area of moral philosophy by indicating the sorts of questions that could help extend the argument you made in the essay. The conclusion is the last note of the essay, the final impression you'll leave with the reader. End with a bang, not a whimper.